Since my divorce 11 years ago, I have raised my children alone. My children would have been better off if I had not remarried. My own home servicing firm is now my proudly owned business. I was just your typical housekeeper when I first started out. I would need to exert a great deal of personal initiative if I wished to change my destiny. Working has given me a solid work ethic, an excellent sense of customer service, and many professional relationships. Countless clientele have acknowledged our personnel. Among the many services provided by our firm are cleaning and care for the elderly. My children are well-mannered and excel in school, therefore I am happy with my life right now. The sole thing that worries me is my congenital heart ailment. I can reduce my risk of heart attacks by maintaining regular doctor's appointments. One of my employees hurt themselves while working for me. Without wasting a second, I raced over to the spot. Upon arrival, I felt a sharp pain in my chest and found it difficult to breathe. My heart was about to explode. I begged a staff member to help me to my seat as I attempted to keep my cool. As my health worsened, I felt like passing time was becoming increasingly difficult. The worker frantically dialed the emergency hotline. I was having a harder and harder time breathing as the pain in my chest grew worse while I awaited the arrival of the ambulance. For the entirety of my time at the emergency room, I felt as though I were floating. Without delay, they began treating me. I found immense strength in the company of my loved ones in the hospital. I had slipped into a coma just before surgery. The moment I opened my eyes, I was laying in a hospital bed. After inserting a stent and unblocking the artery, the doctors told me everything was okay. I felt my heart being protected and cared for. For the most part, I rested and healed as my doctors had instructed. With their help, I was able to resume my life and career. My sincere appreciation goes out to the doctor who helped me get well again. 3 years later, an extraordinary event occurred to me that changed the course of my life forever. Somehow, I sensed that God saw me as unique. On the day of my death, I met Jesus. That afternoon, my kid went to a birthday celebration for a classmate. I was in the midst of preparing dinner when I felt a sharp, unexpected squeeze on my chest. With my pulse pounding, I whipped out my cell phone and rang 911. Because I could only hear my own rapid breathing, I couldn't answer the operator's questions about my condition. I was so terrified that I thought my life was about to end. I bowed down, held the phone tightly in my other hand, and prayed for help. I prayed to God that He would spare me the pain if my time on earth ended. As I closed my eyes and prepared to embrace death, a surge of strength surged through my heart. Just being in the company of the heavenly apparition that appeared to me brought me immense tranquility. An enigmatic individual approached me, reached out a hand, and gently tapped my head. I felt a soothing energy envelop me, and the pain instantly faded. An individual clad in an elaborate white robe stood before me. As soon as he grinned, I was incredibly relieved. "My sweetheart, there is no need to hurry. Everything would be all right," he told her. As soon as I looked at him, I knew he was Jesus. Whenever I've been in danger, he's been by my side. The palm of Jesus' hand rested on my shoulder. Suddenly, a tunnel appeared right before our eyes. I went inside the tunnel as Jesus had told me. Upon entering, we immediately began to move at a dizzying rate of speed. As we continued forward, the surrounding walls and ground began to glow. The soft light and comforting warmth from these lights helped me relax and unwind. By the time we came out of the tunnel, the light was blinding. A celestial vigor emanated from this light. It didn't bother me in the slightest that I could gaze directly into that beam of light. This light brought a love I had never experienced before. Following that, Jesus reviewed my past incarnations. At all times, someone was watching me. When I first started working in home health care, I saw one of those instances. An outstanding client of mine was mine. She looked to be in her 70s, yet she was a lively elderly lady. She had to be there all the time for her son, who was paralyzed in the legs after a car accident, and her husband had died when he was little. I got the impression that she was quite lonely. If I had a job nearby, I would often visit her residence to lend a hand around the house. I knew she was strapped for cash, so I waived the fee. When I would visit her, I would also bring home-cooked meals. She always thanked me when I lent her a hand. When I visited her, she would always be overjoyed to see me. Her stories would be filled with nostalgia. She has been through a lot, so I would listen to her stories and accept her advice. She had previously mentioned wanting to go for a walk in the park. After a while of not going out, I convinced her to accompany me to the park. She conveyed her gratitude and joy for my taking her. She told me she adored me and thought of me as family. In 2011, her tragic death took place. If my memory serves me correctly, that morning was cool and muggy. When I heard the news, I was crushed. When I got to her house, her son told me that she had passed just a few days before. My grief was so great that it was as if I had just lost a loved one. As Jesus grinned at me, his eyes gleamed with affection and approval. "You have done an excellent job, my son," he remarked to me. "Your selflessness has served as an example of strength and courage to many." Like him, I was swept away by happiness at hearing his remarks. During our conversation, I asked Jesus a lot of questions about life. He was really patient in his explanations, and I now feel like I really understand the material. Also, he stressed how important it is to be nice and loving to everyone. I felt a connection to Jesus, and his teachings have transformed my life. There is now more meaning to my being than before. Trust me when I say that I can inspire them to believe and be brave. "Are you never going to get married again?" Jesus asked in a lighthearted manner. I must admit that I was surprised. He had no idea how I was feeling. "How did you know?" I asked him a question. Jesus looked at me with a compassionate expression on his face. I smiled just like him. "Are you kidding?" was my subsequent inquiry. "No, I am dead serious," he shot back. "I don't understand how you can be so generous and yet so spoiled. Your children are adults now, therefore it's time to focus on your own romantic future." Murmuring under my breath, I proclaimed, "I'm really scared of hurting myself. I have been afraid to trust love since my previous relationship was so painful." "I know you've been hurt, but you can't let your past experiences stop you from finding true love," Jesus stated after patiently listening in. "Trust me when I say that you will meet someone worthy of your love if you open your heart to other people." "But how do I know if this person is worthy of my love?" With a tinge of doubt, I said, "Have faith in your heart," Jesus warned. "Being in this person's company will cause you to experience something out of the ordinary. You will feel love and excitement deep within." I took a long breath and whispered, "Thank you. Of course, I will do my best." By speaking authoritatively and with a smile, Jesus said, "Yes, my child, believe me, you will find your true love." A scene from my life was also shown to me by Jesus. My son, who was married and a parent at the time of the scene, was much younger than me. I had already decided I would never get into a relationship again until I saw the man standing next to me. From what I could see, he was a thoughtful and caring man. This man was a divine gift, according to Jesus. Jesus went on to declare that this man would be his soulmate right now, and that they would walk side by side through life. In my prayer to Jesus, I expressed my gratitude for the bright future that he had promised me. I shall hold this gift in high regard. "I am always with you, watching you grow and progress," Jesus said with a smile as he spoke to me. "I will always be by your side, no matter what happens." Jesus guided me toward the tunnel as we gradually left that lovely place. I knew I had to return to Earth to resume my life, despite how disturbing it was. "Return to Earth and keep preaching the gospel of love and hope," he said. "Forever and ever, I will be by your side." I felt my body heaving again, and my vision became blurry out of nowhere. When I opened them again, it was as if I had returned to the actual world. The doctor rushed into my room to tell me how lucky I was. Due to the complete failure of the 2 stents that I had implanted, the hospital had to conduct additional surgery. People are so happy to gush over my good fortune whenever I bring it up in conversation. I would love to tell them that it was God's constant assistance, not luck. A year later, I did in fact meet that man. The man and I initially crossed paths at a friend's gathering. As I reflect, I still can't believe this guy is my husband. He was a very interesting and insightful man. Finally, we both made sure to add our contact information. 2 months passed before we went on our first official date. Our time together was fantastic. As the sun went down, he drove me to the shore. As we sat on the beach, we could make out the sound of the waves crashing on the coast and the distant cries of gulls. In an unexpected display of affection, he confessed to me that he had loved me from the beginning and longed to spend the rest of his life with me. I was elated and had the same reaction. Throughout our relationship, we enjoyed both the good times and the bad. However, we supported each other through it all. He waited an entire year before he made his proposal. He guided me to a beautiful island beside the water. A bright ring was discovered inside a little container that he opened. He told me he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me. Could we be married? Affirmatively, I will marry you, I said. After he helped me put on the ring, we hugged. It was a beautiful church where we had our wedding. We invited those closest to us to join us in celebrating this momentous milestone. We were married about 10 years ago. We have overcome numerous obstacles as a team, and our bond has only grown stronger. God has done so much for me, and I will be forever grateful.